that T.I. little yellow motherfucker, long hair freak. That little motherfucker don't know how to fight either. Get them, y'all babies is rapper babies. Go drop him off over his cousin them house.
The red and blue lights, man. Save a nigga life, huh?
I shoot him right in his goddamn throat.
I spare no expense on your ass, boy. About mine. Give a f about no police. Do all my time. I got family. I got motherfuckers who willing to risk their lives and freedom to about me and mine. You hear me? Don't f play with my motherfucking child, ever.
When it comes to stirring the pot, few names ring louder than Charleston White. He's made a career off calling out rappers, their kids, and the culture they stand on. But when he set his sights on T.I. and his son King Harris, the internet knew it was about to explode. What started as jokes about King quickly spiraled into a full-on feud, with T.I. stepping in to defend his family, Charleston doubling down, and fans debating who was right. At the heart of it all is one question. Is King really a victim of clout chasing? Or is Charleston just saying what everyone's been thinking? It kicked off after King Harris's arrest went viral. The footage showed T.I.'s son calm and smirking while being cuffed, as if it was all a game. Online, people dragged him for bragging about jail like it was a badge of honor. Instead of embarrassment, King seemed to lean into the attention. That's when Charleston White jumped in, clowning King for acting hard when everybody knows he grew up rich. He called him spoiled, entitled, and a crash dummy, headed for destruction. Charleston didn't just criticize King, he pointed the finger at T.I.'s parenting, saying Tip failed to raise his son right despite having money, fame, and opportunity. T.I. wasn't about to let that slide. He fired back with a heated Instagram rant, making it clear Charleston crossed the line. Tip said, "Speak on me all you want, but keep my kids out your mouth." To him, this wasn't about rap beef, it was about family. T.I. demanded Charleston meet up in person to talk like men, warning him not to hide behind social media lives and YouTube streams. The fire in Tip's tone showed this wasn't just clout, he was genuinely furious. But Charleston thrives off this type of smoke. Instead of backing down, he went harder, mocking T.I.'s threat and calling him soft for trying to defend a kid who's been acting reckless for years. He reminded everyone of King's antics. The Waffle House fight where King cursed out workers, the Instagram lives where he flashed guns and money, and the times he openly disrespected police during traffic stops. Charleston's angle was simple. Don't get mad at me, get mad at your son. To him, King wasn't some innocent kid being picked on. He was an example of how fame and money can raise a child with no discipline. Fans couldn't stop talking about it. Some agreed with T.I., saying Charleston went too far bringing a child into grown men's issues. Others sided with Charleston, saying he was just speaking facts. King has been out of control for years, and somebody needed to call it out. That divide is what kept the story alive. It wasn't just about jokes anymore. It became a debate about parenting, accountability, and how much blame falls on T.I. for his son's behavior. And while the internet argued, Charleston made sure to keep stoking the fire. Every time T.I. tried to defend his family, Charleston turned it into another viral clip. For him, it was business as usual. For T.I., it was personal. And once a feud gets personal, the stakes get way higher.
In the hell is it more newsworthy to report that this man got into an argument with a fucking short order cook, and less important to speak about the fact that he graduated with honors on the A&B honor roll at 17, not even 18 yet? Why is this? I don't understand what world we're living in. Well, this is what we rather promote.
By the time Charleston White locked in on King Harris, the young man had already given him plenty of ammo. King had built a reputation as the wild child of the Harris family, the one always going viral for the wrong reasons. His most infamous moment came at a Waffle House in 2022, where he got into it with staff and customers. Cameras caught King cursing out employees, claiming he was about that life, while his mom Tiny tried to calm him down. Instead of learning from the humiliation, King went live after the incident, bragging and defending himself. That clip has lived online ever since, proof to many that King was desperate to prove he was tougher than his reality TV childhood. It didn't stop there. Over the years, King has hopped on Instagram Lives, flashing guns, weed, and stacks of cash, all while running his mouth about being outside. For fans, it was confusing. Everyone saw him grow up in mansions on the family hustle. He had private schools, designer clothes, and parents with millions. But King wanted the world to believe he was cut from the streets, not silk sheets. That identity crisis became his brand. And unfortunately, it also became the punchline Charleston White exploited. Charleston laid it out bluntly. He said King was acting like a crash dummy, chasing a street image that wasn't real. He mocked him for trying to earn stripes he didn't need, pointing out that real gangsters don't brag about being locked up. They try to avoid it. And every time King made another reckless post or went viral for the wrong reason, Charleston used it as proof. His message to T.I. was clear. Don't be mad at me for calling it out. Be mad at your son for giving me the material. T.I. and Tiny tried their best to shield King. Tip went live multiple times telling fans not to judge his son off clips, insisting King was just young and figuring himself out. Tiny echoed the same, telling critics that King wasn't the troublemaker he looked like online. But the problem was King himself. Instead of laying low, he doubled down, almost as if he wanted the controversy. Whether it was pride, ego, or just immaturity, King couldn't resist feeding the fire. And Charleston knew exactly how to flip that into more content. Every time King did something wild, Charleston pounced with a new rant. He'd clown his mugshots, laugh at his gangsta talk, and remind the world that this was the same kid who grew up rich. To Charleston, it wasn't just entertainment. It was a way to prove his larger point about hip-hop culture, that too many rappers' kids want to play gangster when they don't have to. That's what made this feud so sticky. It wasn't just personal between him and T.I. It became cultural commentary, with Charleston positioning himself as the truth teller who wasn't afraid to say what everyone else was thinking. Fans might not like his delivery, but they couldn't deny that he was pulling receipts straight from King's own behavior. For Ty, though, this was deeper than rap. It wasn't about memes or internet jokes. It was about his son's name being dragged across social media and his parenting being disrespected in front of millions. And the more Charleston pushed, the harder it got for Tip to keep his cool.
He said,
I know my son. Think I ain't spoke to my son. Think I ain't told my son, his mama, and his grandmamas. His ass going to prison. If he goddamn keep that shit up, his ass going to prison. Ain't no way around it. Ain't nothing I'm gonna be able to do about it.
Once T.I. stepped in to defend his son, the tension with Charleston White went from petty to personal. Tip wasn't playing when he demanded a face-to-face conversation, saying Charleston needed to keep family out of his mouth. To Ty, this wasn't about clout, it was about respect. But Charleston, he thrives on confrontation. Instead of backing off, he doubled down, turning the beef into a stage show. Charleston started going live more often, dragging King with nicknames like Little Crash Out and saying T.I. raised a spoiled brat. He laughed at T.I.'s angry videos, mocking him for protecting a kid who acts like a gangster but cries for daddy when the heat comes. Then he took it further, flipping Tip's threat into comedy. T.I. talking about meet me in person, Charleston said, but I don't fight rappers. I call the cops. The internet lit up because that's Charleston's trademark move. Play gangster 1 second, then brag about being a law-abiding citizen the next. The back and forth only made things hotter. At one point, Charleston even claimed he'd press charges on T.I. if they ever crossed paths. To him, this wasn't cowardly. It was strategy. He built his brand on trolling rappers into threatening him, then flipping it into headlines and sympathy. And now, with a star as big as T.I. locked in, Charleston had prime content to feed his audience. The feud became a circus online. Fans clipped every video, reaction channels jumped in, and memes spread like wildfire. Every time Charleston cracked a joke at King's expense, it went viral. Every time T.I. clapped back, it made Charleston look even bigger. To outsiders, it looked less like a fight and more like Charleston running laps around a rap legend in the court of public opinion. But not everyone was laughing. The drama split fans down the middle. Some sided with Charleston, saying he was speaking uncomfortable truths. They argued King needed discipline, not protection, and that T.I. had let his son embarrass the family for too long. To them, Charleston was simply the loudmouth saying what everyone else whispered. King was spiraling, and it was on T.I. to stop it. Others, though, felt Charleston crossed a line. They said it's one thing to critique rappers, but another to drag a kid into it. No matter how reckless King acted, he was still T.I.'s son, and going after family made Charleston look less like a truth teller and more like a clout chaser. For those fans, T.I. had every right to snap. That clash of opinions is what made the feud bigger than just gossip. It turned into a conversation about parenting, respect, and where the line should be drawn in hip-hop culture. And in that debate, Charleston thrived. Whether people loved him or hated him, they couldn't stop talking about him. Meanwhile, T.I. was left in a tough spot. As a father, he couldn't ignore the disrespect. But as a public figure, every move he made gave Charleston more shine. It was a lose-lose situation, and Charleston knew it.
Man, we was about to whoop your ass when you come back down here from telling. I can see you had a soft upbringing. It got so tough, started yelling, you know. Boy, the red and blue lights, man. Save a nigga's life, huh?
By the time the dust settled, the T.I. versus Charleston White feud had turned into one of the messiest storylines in hip-hop culture. What started as jokes about King Harris spiraled into weeks of viral videos, heated exchanges, and non-stop headlines. And even though no punches were ever thrown, the damage was done, both to T.I.'s family image and to the way the public viewed Charleston White. For T.I., the battle exposed a side of him fans weren't used to seeing. We know him as the King of the South, a man who's gone toe-to-toe with rappers, record labels, and even the law. But this time, it wasn't about music or business. It was about fatherhood. Defending King showed T.I.'s protective side, but it also highlighted his frustration. Fans pointed out that Tip had been warning King for years, reminding him that playing gangster only leads to prison or worse. And now, with Charleston clowning him nonstop, Tip looked like a dad caught between love for his son and embarrassment at his choices. Charleston, on the other hand, walked away with exactly what he wanted: attention. He branded himself the loudmouth truth teller, the guy who says what rappers won't admit. In the eyes of his supporters, Charleston didn't bully King, he held a mirror up to him. They praised him for calling out the fake gangster act and for exposing how celebrity kids sometimes crash out trying to earn respect they never had to fight for. To those fans, Charleston was a necessary villain, but for his critics, Charleston crossed a dangerous line. Dragging kids into grown men's fights was seen as clout chasing at its worst. They pointed out that Charleston thrives by attacking vulnerable targets, knowing it'll trigger big reactions from rappers like T.I. The more outlandish his insults, the more views he racks up. To them, Charleston wasn't brave, he was messy, using disrespect as a business model. The bigger picture, though, is how this feud sparked conversation about parenting in hip-hop. Should rappers' kids be off limits, even if they act out in public? Or do they deserve the same criticism as anyone else once they step into the spotlight? King Harris became the example, his every move dissected by millions. And in that spotlight, T.I.'s parenting was judged just as harshly as King's behavior. In the end, nobody came out clean. King is still fighting the perception of being a spoiled rich kid chasing a fake hood image. T.I. is still balancing his rap legacy with the struggles of raising kids in the public eye. And Charleston White? He's still online, laughing, trolling, and making sure his name stays trending. Love him or hate him, Charleston proved one thing. In today's culture, controversy pays. And for T.I., the lesson was brutal. When your family's name hits the internet streets, defending it only feeds the fire.